And a very good afternoon from a grey and grim Brooklands lake, but it has been spectacular. So I've never done one for here. And what happened was my taxi garage, I'm a cab driver as you might know, moved to the local area. It used to be further into southeast London and they moved here. And I came up for a service the other day and I had a walk around and I was like, oh yeah, I forget how good this place is, you know. So as it was local and I wanted to change the scene, I thought I'd come here. So, and it needed to be done. I needed to do a vlog of the place to introduce you to it. Now it's not known for being spectacular for very rare birds, but you get the odd thing that's interesting. One of the more interesting things was back in late 2021, early 2022, a water rail had been seen for a couple of weeks, 2-3 weeks, in the northeast corner, spotted by someone on the Kent birding group. So that provided some good photos. I didn't film back in those days, so I can just show you a few of the photos I've got. They were very, very low light conditions, once or twice. I'm having some chewing gum. That's very unprofessional. We're going to spit it out, so I'm talking. It started making its way up to my teeth. So yeah, the low light, and then the bird started coming out into the sun for some better photos. The best photos of a water rail I've ever gotten, ever since, before or after. One of the other birders even saw a stoat here, a regular birder for one of the Facebook groups, saw a stoat over by the boat club. So let's just start off first. If you're coming here, if you can, you can park in the industrial state. You should be able to get away with that in some of the places, but I kind of wouldn't recommend it. There is, when you come in from the north side, there are two entrances. Go into that one and park anywhere you like in there, except obviously don't block any of the entrances or gates or doors to the clubs, the building there, anything like that. If you go into B&M, the car park for B&M, they've got a 2-hour limit. And I did speak to a birder a couple of years ago who got a ticket, totally forgot which one he went into, parked in the car park, got a fine because he went over the 2 hours. So if you come in from the car parks at the top, get to you'll see the sort of areas it's mostly a fisherman's lake, but attracts all the different birds. And first thing you'll get a little blackbird welcoming you. He's always on the path. I think it's a juvenile, very used to the humans and dogs are constantly walking around. Here's a sign for the lake. It tells you all the things you can do and things you can't do. No barbecues. You allow dogs and anything else about the swimming and no swimming, stuff like that. So study that and know your rights and the laws. This place is it's good for bird feeding. You know, a lot of birds that you might see, waders, anything else, pigeons, black-headed gulls, mallards, Canada geese, grey-lag geese, swans, a lot of things that are very jumpy normally when you're out in the wild will come up to you for feeding. Now, the recommendation is don't give these animals any kind of like wheat, you know, bread, biscuits, cookies, you know, stuff like that. If you're going to feed them, you know, I'm not going to be your daddy and tell you what you can and can't do. But if you're going to feed them, bring some frozen vegetables, let them thaw, you know, corn, peas, carrots. And that's a bit more natural because apparently the wheat muck, when they poop it out, it mucks up all the algae and everything in the water. It doesn't make it very pleasant. And I don't think I've ever seen anything dead here, maybe once. So it's a clean place. And here you'll get all your, the reason I'm hands-free at the moment is it's getting very dark and I want to keep my eyes. I've just seen my first redwings there's a lot of movement. I'm keeping an eye. They landed there, 3 of them, and I managed to catch one with a bit of manual focus. Where were we? So yeah, I need to keep my hands free because a number of times I've missed things because I've been holding and walking around. So where shall I start? So it's good for, you're going to get loads and loads of coots. Yeah, coots everywhere. There are even coots nesting now under a tree. I don't know if they're laying eggs, somebody tell me, but they seem to do very well, don't they? Coots are everywhere. And, you know, their chicks provide good meals for marsh harriers and grey herons and stuff like that. And yeah, the other one, the moorhens, there's a couple of moorhens floating around, and the coots seem to be the dominant because if they come near a coot, they chase them off. And grey heron, yeah, the island over there, You won't be able to see it from this angle. You might see it fly by there if it goes by there. Yeah, you might going to see it. Grey heron. A lot of birds nesting on that island in the middle, which is only accessible for it's either the boat club or the anglers. And yeah, grey heron sitting in there. And cormorants often in the trees. Yeah, having a little preen up there. Bit of a safe space for them. And then you will get them down here. Have I ever seen them coming up with food? You know, the other thing here that it's very famous for are the great crested grebes. They're very often coming up with decent fish. And I've seen many pictures from other birders on the Facebook groups of the little juvenile. I never get here in time to get the little juveniles, you know, when they look like the little black and white stripes. I mean, when I first saw one of those juveniles, when it had slightly grown back in 2020, I thought, oh, I've got a new bird. Over, I think it was on the other side of the Thames in Tilbury or something. Oh, I've got some sort of new grebe. No, it's a juvenile great crested grebe. Duh. So, other thing, it's good for tufted duck. There was a few tufted duck today. And I didn't see any ladies, any Mrs. Tufted Duck, didn't see any of those. What I've seen in the past, nothing today, were common pochard. I've had, a flock of 4 or 5 before here, and nothing today. It's coots, greater black-backed gulls, lesser, not even lesser, black-headed gulls. And yeah, somebody was feeding, and I didn't get them in the frame. Just some footage here of them feeding the birds, not them in the photo. I'm trying to be very respectful of people's privacy. We're jumping around all over the place here. So, what should we do? We'll start with what happened when I got here, and then I'll go back in time and tell you some of the other good things, as well as that water owl. So when we arrived, missel thrush straight away in the car park. Bosh. I'm setting up in the car park. Everyone's always looking at me with a big lens, wondering what he's doing. But yeah, took a bit of footage of that just to, those bits there can be good for red wing. And it's hard to distinguish the call because blackbirds, missel thrush, song thrush, and redwing and fieldfare all make that kind of similar thrush noise. So it's hard to know which one it is. And seeing as this place is so good for blackbirds. So anyway, saw that, and then big bird flying above the northern lake, and raptor, common buzzard. I was in slow motion mode, so filmed that for a second. I thought, that's a really good start to the day. And then I can now skip forward quickly because, so we're going around from the northwest, curving round. They're starting to do some works here. It was a bit of a, I don't know, just an area that's been left to sort of degrade and overgrow with weeds and just left to its own devices. And now it's being developed. And I hope they do it respectfully and make it wildlife friendly. The little bits of water there are there, the lakes, they include those would be nice. So as I got round there, because I mean, in the past you look through, it was pretty good for redwings in the past. They found it good for hiding back there. So when I came round this section here, which I can do via the help of a map and some lines, red lines, I was able to find a gap to see into where the works were happening, and everything has been cut down, removed, and there's kind of mounds of dirt and leaves and debris. And I was a bit stupid. A kestrel landed right on top of one, and I thought, okay, it's going to be very tame, and I set the tripod up. Stupid, I should have filmed it first. By the time I set the tripod up, it had gone. And then I saw another dark brown bird land on a mound. I went, oh, he's over there. No, that's a bigger bird. It must have been that common buzzard. Excellent touch. It was like landing on posts, landing on the ground, landing on the mounds. And what he was doing, or she was doing, was getting some easy pickings on the ground. There were obviously worms moving around from stuff that had been dug up, and easy peasy, nice protein for them. So I got some great film to make this day even more spectacular. Because we can go around quickly. I'll just say big flock of goldcrest. Now goldcrest I've got in the past here, photos, is good for goldcrest, but the benefit of the winter is why I love the winter, especially if it doesn't have to be this grey, as long as it's a little bit light, much better for lighting. But there are no leaves. Well, I say no leaves. There are much fewer leaves on the branches, and with a little bit of overcast lighting, you can see the birds jumping around. And this flock of, I don't know, there could have been anywhere between 6 and 10 goldcrest. And my arms were killing me by the end of it, but I managed to get like 1 second here, 2 second here. I'll be able to bring the 60 frames down to 30, and I've got a decent amount of time spent filming them. And they were still there when I left, and I could hear them coming up the path with me, and I couldn't film them anymore. My shoulders had gone to pot. Yeah, it's like, even though I'm used to holding this camera, and I lift weights, I go to the gym, you know, it's still like, was it 3 kilos worth of weight, and the backpack on, pulling your arms back. But that was fantastic. And oh, hello, what are you? You must be, let me just check that. This is why we do this. I need to keep my eyes open. There's things landing in the trees here, and I've got to decide whether they're great tit size or red wing size. Usually red wing, I'd hear that little screechy call they make. So anyway, yeah, so what did I do? I went round the gold. I looked for, I'm pretty sure I saw a red wing take off, and now I know they're around here, because I was like, was that a red wing? I'm sure this thrush bird, size bird, coloured bird, jumped out and it had some red on it, but I couldn't film it. But I've got it now anyway. So we went round, and the robins on the north side, very, very friendly. It's very bad because I have had them feeding. I had to think for a second. Have I had them feeding out of my hand here before? Because I do in Greenwich Park, I do in Stodmarsh, and in Rainham Marshes, at Rainham Marshes. And this one waited on the branch of me as I walked past it. Normally they're tame from a distance, and then you walk past, they go. And I set the camera up on the tripod to film it for a while. Got some lovely full frame footage of this beautiful little bird. And I think it was waiting for me to film it. And I'm very bad. I haven't carried any peanuts or nuts for a long time. And I know this one would have eaten out of my hand, because I've had it here before in that northeast corner where we saw the water rail. And incidentally, there's an arch there that goes through to the sports field on the other side. And I've been through there before. There is some kind of greenery, and the river on the right. Didn't have really any luck there. For me, this is the better side. But one day I'll go through there and go, oh, you know, this place is pretty good. Anyway, not today. We'll do that on another catch up someday when there's more going on here. So went round, nothing. Yeah, so that catches up today. Yep. So when I was here the other day to get my cab done, this place is also known for sparrowhawks. So one day when I was up in the northwest corner waiting for the Kingfisher, that area is known for house sparrows. People put food out in their gardens. They have the houses there. People live closer there than anywhere else around the lake, and they put stuff in their garden, seeds, and lots of house sparrows go in there. And while I was waiting for the Kingfisher one day, 2 years ago, there was some sparrows in this tree, and I just heard this commotion on my left. And yeah, it was obviously a big bird had just out of the corner of my eye flew right through there, and I saw it go off and towards the path on my left, and I ran round, and I got one shot off that was usable, and it was on the ground with a male sparrow. Dinner time. It was a male sparrowhawk. Yeah, and I've often seen them. I mean, I remember I heard a scuffling, rustling trees, leaves on this tree coming down, something coming down it. And as I was, oh, what's that standing there one day over on the south side? Sparrowhawk emerged and just looked at me. I looked at it and it flew off. I was like, what? And when I dropped my car off the other day and went for a walk, I saw a sparrowhawk fly past over my head and land on a tree behind some other trees. And I was like, it had to do that, didn't it? But luckily up the side was a path, some steps that goes past this workshop. And I was able to get to an angle where I had a free line of sight to it. Thankfully with my 800 millimeters, which is, I think I've said before, 1280 on a 1.6 crop factor, camera on the tripod. And I filmed it for about 25 minutes, hoping to catch anything unusual. I got a little bit of a preen, I got a little bit of a kind of, head tilt and head wobble and spreading of its tail feathers right out, which was beautiful. And I now regret not taking a photo of that. I did take a couple of photos, but it's a big crop. When you're filming, it crops in a little bit more, so you can actually fill the frame a little more. So when you switch to photos, it's not as good. I've got some nice photos, but they're big crops on top of being 1280 mil with the low lighting. But loads of good footage, but I whittled the 25 minutes down to about 2.5. and just to see what it would do. Hopefully, it would have a wing stretch or anything else, but it was just preening. And on this, there's a walkway that goes through the middle. Just check with this wind, my camera's okay. There's a walkway in the middle of the lake, and at the bottom I heard the kingfisher. Now I know it's cool, and it landed on a tree just to the, if you're on the right hand, if you're looking facing the walkway through the middle of the lake, it landed on the right. So ran over here and got a few seconds of it. So yeah, a few seconds of the kingfisher over there. Beautiful male. I don't know if it's because the diffused lighting of that day, that it was so blue, there was no blown out highlights. And then when I went to pick my cab up, this missile thrush landed in a berry tree, random, in the middle of an industrial estate. So I sort of stood out of my cab and filmed that while everyone was standing around having a cigarette. I don't want to say the F word because I don't want to get demonetized. Then he said old school. People of a certain age might not know what the F word is for a cigarette, the old, which you can't say now because you'll get cancelled. So a few seconds of everyone standing around having their lunch and cigarettes, and went up the road leaving the industrial estate towards the east, and immediately saw something on the top of a post. When the post goes up, every birder knows that your post goes up, it's either kind of like that or flat, and this thing had kind of curvature. Sure enough, there was a common kestrel up there, and I managed to get underneath it. Very tame, obviously, because of all the people living there, and filmed beautiful, lovely footage. And it was weird because I thought, has it got an injury? Because it looked like it had been speared by something. Something was sticking out of his chest, and it was just where it was resting. Its feathers had engulfed this twig coming out of the branch, and so I think it was on one claw, and this thing sticking out the side of it. It's a weird looking one. So that was a great, for the little session I had when I came to get my cab. That was brilliant. But the kingfisher, we'll show you some of the previous stuff I've got for the kingfisher here. I can show you photos and go through my hard drive and show you some photos of the kingfisher here. This has been one of the best places for it over the years. And even there was a point where before I was filming for my YouTube channel, if a bird sat still enough for long enough, I would attempt to film it. And I got some footage of, a little bit shaky, but good footage. What I did is I sat down at the time and with my knees up and rested the camera on my knees, and full on this female on a branch over on the northwest corner. But yeah, sometimes I've even seen 2 or 3 flitting about above the water. And yeah, I mean, other photographers have got them with fish, and but you mostly see them I've seen them in the northwest, but then the other day when I saw them in the south, shows you they're about, and apparently they say they nest in the middle, which you can't go to, so I'm okay to tell you that. Nobody's going to tell me off for giving away locations. You can't get there anyway. Anything else? I mean, I've seen red kites over here. Red kites, red wing, fieldfare. Yeah, the little wren today gave me a good show. I mean, with all the leaves cut back, it was jumping around and showing well. Yeah, I mean, that's literally in that same spot. That wren's been there for 4 years. And on this section, I'm literally down in the sort of southwesty corner. And over here, on the right here, I've had a really good Chetty's warbler jump out on a branch. Really good photos. No, this was before I filmed. That was a nice little touch. He just landed right there. She just landed right there. And obviously, there's all your usual suspects. Your great tits. I've seen a dozen or so of those today. And I tried to film everything, every bird, to put over what I'm saying, overlay what I'm saying. So a little bit here of a blue tip, but not my greatest footage. It wouldn't land with a good background. I've got to stop saying I've said that. Blackbirds, tree sparrows, I wish, house sparrows, magpies, crows, occasional jackdaws. The trees are full of wood pigeons. They're always catching your eye. Loads of squirrels, they're jumping around on branches. And yeah, I've done the Canada geese. Have I said Canada geese? Yeah, I'm just running around in my head of all the things I've seen in the past. But anyway, I think I've covered most of that now. Water owl, kingfisher, all the birds of prey. Yeah. Dunnocks, yeah, I've had a few good dunnocks here. Good old, you know. But I will bring some nuts next time and see if I can get a little sparrow, well, sparrows if they want to, they can. You know what, the last time I had a sparrow eat out of my hand was Burgess Park in Peckham, Camberwell, and then down in Broadstairs. But before that, back in the 80s, I did like to feed birds, and they would come and eat out of your hand in St James's Park. That was known for that, and Greenwich Park. But Greenwich Park ended a long time ago with sparrows. Don't know why they moved on from there. Maybe it was the parakeet's fault. But yeah, I think that's a good catch up. I hope you come down here and check it out. Like I said, don't expect anything completely crazy unusual. I mean, you wouldn't. I mean, I don't think I've ever heard of red poles or siskins or any kind of Hume's leaf warbler or anything like that. You'll get your standard bits and something cool. You know, buzzard, sparrowhawk, and maybe the odd water owl, stoat. Come down here and enjoy. Remember that car parking rule I told you about? Go into the left side, not the right side, and park near the boat club. Anywhere around the boat club, right near the entrance if you want. It's free to, I mean, just of course, read the signs. They might change next time if someone else comes here, because that estate is going up. So I don't know what new rules are going to be for that, if it affects anything around here. Anyway, I'm waffling now. Have a great afternoon, great evening, wherever you are in the world.